Hello, lovely loves. I wanted to get on here and do a talk about the Diddy trial. And I kind of want to make this a new topic that, or thread that I do within my overreaching channel. So we'll have a trending deeper series where I talk about trending topics on a deeper level. And then, of course, we have the one I'm doing on sacred currents, and I may also do some more on homeschooling, and I'll probably do call those roots and rigor, just how you have to be very rigorous about keeping your roots for education as far as me educating kids. So I'm going to kind of do different series based on different topics. So this one's going to be on trending deeper, and we are going to talk about Diddy. I've been clutching my invisible pearls as I listen to it. But beneath all of that spectacle of like the crazy story that's going on, what we're not talking about is what's behind this whole Diddy drama. And not just like the brand or the entertainer Diddy, but like what's really going on with black male portrayal and also with Diddy himself as a man. So let's get into that. So let me go ahead and start it off. What stands out to me about Diddy is how he spent most of his career being extremely successful materially. And because of that, people just assume that he must be successful on a deeper level. And the whole brother love thing, because one thing you do with that is you're saying, what is he really covering for? Pretty much like Russell Simmons, who goes to Bali since 2018, and it's like, what is he really in Bali for? Probably because of all the misconduct, and he's all talking about love this, love that, and all these different yoga stances is bringing me peace, when in actuality, he's just covering for an unhealed soul. So I want to kind of talk about that a little bit more. And I always noticed the way Diddy moved, and I felt like ever really very talented, as in the sense of raw talent, as far as like artistic talent goes. But he was talented in another way, meaning he had a savviness to him and a confidence to him. But and to me, like, you know, there's different ways you can be talented. There's nothing wrong with being talented in that way and not in the actual artistic artist way. But I also sensed, though I can't prove this, that he may have been placed into his position and bolstered up in that position as an informant. Intentionally, he was helping to steer the black community away from higher consciousness. And this has been a pattern in mainstream entertainment for over a century. It arguably began with the minstrel shows in the late 1800s. And my personal opinion is that even though officially those minstrel shows ended in the 1960s, which is crazy that it went that long, but I feel like it's evolved to subtler caricatures of black identity, because black identity is being caricatured to this day on a high level. And so back to Diddy. In my view, he was broken from the beginning. There's a lot of rumors online that suggest that he was sexually abused by a Catholic priest as a child. And if that's true, I could see how that type of trauma would fracture his psyche, maybe even causing some dissociative behavior and even psychopathy. Now, a person that has that type of background, they may need to go through therapy. Ultimately, they have to surrender to God, and they have to dedicate their life to kind of glorifying that. I don't know Diddy personally or Sean Combs personally, but I will say that this is just based off of my own intuition and perception that I've seen of him. I sense that he never truly confronted those wounds, and instead he's masked them with that confidence, and then he was given kind of fuel for it by being an informant and being able to influence people even more. And because he was still broken on a soul level, or on a fundamental level, I should say, he kind of created more brokenness around him, and it was around the ways that he was hiding his shame and guilt. So I feel like he liked to be in control or needed to control. And that was because he had this deep rooted fear of hopelessness that was instilled in him at a formative age. And that actually control led to him being a little bit reckless, like you could see, like with J-Lo and stuff. And then I expect that around that time he was approached by a certain agency, and let's just call the agency like the deep state. And then he was asked to serve an agenda. And that agenda was essentially just to promote the degeneracy and fear and just subordinates to the Black community. And as we know, like, fear is just a tool for control because it perpetuates itself and then it creates more of the same thing. So essentially, he was really caught up in his own trauma cycle. I would call, like, the freak offs and stuff that he was participating in. It was in a way a trauma cycle that he made for himself. And so he wasn't really worried about the broader impact that his influence had on the Black community. So he just moved forward and he prospered. But eventually that shadow caught up with him, from those freak offs to the degradation and the domination that he wanted to portray on people. And he's kind of was reacting the pain or whatever shame on him, because really the shame and guilt, if it's unhealed, it becomes more magnetic, meaning you actually want it. So there was a part of him that wanted that, which was why you had that weird thing with semen going on with him, where he was kind of wanting the guilt and the shame because he had accepted it, and then he had started to actually crave it. And I'm not saying that this excuses any of his abuse, because it's still not okay, especially when it's in the hands of authority, and he was an authoritative figure with a lot of those, or really all those that he was abusing. But we just have to understand how the darkness moves through the unhealed person. And Diddy, knowingly or not, he became a vessel for the darkness. And he also misused spiritual language. When he was always talking about, oh, let's step into the light, I'm going to step into the light. And how he was using it was through spiritual bypassing. He was saying it to say the words as a way to bypass the darkness that he was perpetuating. And it happens a lot, and it's not common to him. It especially happens in non-dual circles, where you have profound truths and then you're misinterpreting them or misusing them. And I feel like when someone does that, when they're looking at it from a non-dual or Eastern perspective, and they're misinterpreting it, misusing it, using spiritual bypass to be a narcissist or a psychopath or a sociopath. I think he's more of a sociopath. I think that you need to possibly go back to more fundamentalist teaching, like the Bible. And the reason is it can be a little bit more grounding. It doesn't allow for this I am God type feeling within it. It's much more constraining. And of course, even the Bible can be misinterpreted and it can be turned into something else. So it really depends on the reader's heart and their intent. But I would say if you are egotistic, the Bible might be for you. But if you aren't so much egotistic, if you want something more inclusive and it's easy for you to remain humble, then a non-dual teaching may resonate with you more. Either path actually points to the same thing. It just has to do with your own particular makeup and what is going to be best for you. So Diddy's story is a warning to me about what happens when success is defined purely by wealth. The shame that he tried to bury is now being laid bare. And that actually could be a divine intervention from his higher self trying to bring it to light so that he will be able to heal it instead of keeping to perpetuate it. So his brokenness is not permanent. He can always ask for the Holy Spirit to come in and help him to heal himself. And on a more conspiratorial level, I do think that he may have stepped out of line with those who helped him to build his empire. He did that liquor lawsuit, and then I heard that he was also trying to dabble in politics, possibly creating his own political movement. And all of that would be a no-no to the forces that put him in place, because he was put in place to play a role, and that was it. It didn't have to do with taking things in on his own or changing things on his own. He was put in there to degrade, degenerate the black community, and that's essentially it. Because, things need to be in the order for control, which is why control is such a hard thing to do, because it takes constant effort. So what I want to end this on is I want to see black men stop idolizing wealth as the only measure of success. I want to see them return to values, especially morality, accountability, and integrity. What you do in the dark will come into the light. And at the same time, I want us to not to avoid lumping all wealthy, successful black men into the same category, because then you're never going to be able to really rally around someone who really is trying to do good and has the capital to do good. So I just think that, there's a fracturing going on, and it's almost like a fracturing saying, hey, if he's wealthy, he should be able to do that by some people, or if he's wealthy, this is what he's do. Like, this is what the Negro's going to do when they get wealthy. Like, it's a little bit of both, and I think that it's very harmful to the community as a whole when you try to say that this is a representation of something, when it is really just this broken person who was put in place because of his brokenness, and who was able to negatively influence the black community for so long because he was put in place to do that. And that's just my personal feeling. So it's a reflection of the system, spiritual welfare, and that's what happens when fame becomes a substitute for healing. But it can be a turning point for all of us. So comment down below if you think that Diddy is getting help from the boule or the black boule, or if he is maybe was involved with them, but is also involved with the CIA or FBI as an informant, and maybe that's how he got himself into trouble, and maybe the boule might be the ones helping him to have some of those charges dropped to kind of cover themselves, because maybe he was going to drop some names. Or if you think he's just a man whose demons are coming to roost, coming back to haunt him, shadow coming up on him. So yeah, like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what you think. Till next time, bye.